The beginning sucks you in. The setup is perfectly eerie. It's no wonder this book gets you from the start and makes you want to finish it. What am I talking about? Well, This Wretched Valley by Jennifer Kiefer. Hi friends, and welcome back to another book review by me, Kait, on Dark Side of the Word. And yes, we're talking about This Wretched Valley, which is the first book that I picked for my October reading challenge. And I have a lot to talk about. I did say that this sucked me in and that this was a very strong start, but did it hold up to the hype through the entire book? Watch to find out. Okay, as usual, I'm going to read the synopsis that I wrote. I kind of wrote the synopsis in a haze, and re-looking it over, it is quite long, so please bear with me. Hopefully it's as good as all the rest. I promise you, I know what I'm doing, but barely. So, okay, let's try, okay? 3 mutilated bodies have been found in the woods. One a perfectly clean skeleton, another missing its eyes and tongue, and the third one with its rib cage cracked open. No one can figure out what happened. Yet 7 months earlier, Clay might have just found it, the thing that will let him complete his dissertation, an untouched cliff face in the Kentucky wilderness. Now he just has to hike in and document this discovery. Enlisting the help of his friends, the 4 of them set out one March day. Dylan can't believe her luck either. After getting a brand deal with Pretzel? Clay invited her to be a part of his discovery, giving her a chance to stake her claim in the climbing world. She can ascend a new route, claim it as her own, even name it, and Pretzel is even sponsoring the trip. All she needs to do is document it for her fans. At first, everything is going well. This research is practically writing itself, and Dylan's body responds perfectly to the climbing. But disaster strikes when their dog goes missing, and then Dylan catches an unlucky break and falls. And then they can't find their way out, even with the GPS. And then Dylan's boyfriend starts to see things. And why has their food been ripped apart? Okay, now that we've come to the end of that, I can clearly say that that is not the best synopsis that I wrote. So I wanted to go with the bodies that were found because that's very much where the story begins. Essentially, it is in October of that same year, and 3 bodies are found as I described in the book. And the police cannot piece together at all what happened, especially in the fact that these people have only been missing for a few months, so there's no way that there would be a perfectly clean skeleton left over in that short period of time. Besides the fact that at the beginning of the book, they also state that one of the 4 people is still missing. This leads to a lot of intrigue, a lot of excitement. I was very excited for the mystery part of the story, which, as we all know, I am not a mystery thriller girly. I tend to stay far away from them unless it has to do with world building. So, for me to be interested in the mystery of a contemporary story, but come on, I expected aliens. I expected excitement. I expected something really different and cool and unique. I mean, Kiefer is definitely a budgeting artist in the horror realm, and this is her first book in the horror realm, and she owns a horror bookstore, so I really expected something unique and different and exciting, maybe a T. Kingfisher twist, something. No. I'm just gonna warn you, no. Though I try to leave the beginning part of my reviews mostly spoiler-free, so you don't have to worry here, the first part of my reviews are always spoiler-free, and then I go into a spoiler section with plenty of warning. But in this case, I just feel that we need a little bit of a warning sign here for readers who maybe aren't prepared for this, but this is a very gory book. And essentially, it succumbs to gore and killing at the end of the book, and I'm not here for that, and I wanted to warn readers who maybe also aren't here. I'm not a person that enjoys horror movies or stories, essentially think Texas Chainsaw Massacre Killer, or however it's said, where we just we disintegrate into the only plot point in the entire story being death and destruction, and how are they going to die, and who's going to be killed next, and who's going to do the killing next. They're not my kind of stories. I like more of the get outs, the psychological thrillers, where yeah, there's death and murder and mayhem in it. That's not a problem, but I'm not here just for pure death, murder, mayhem. I want the why behind it. I think that there's a lot of thrill and excitement in stories where we don't know why the killing has happened. Like, honestly, if this had been about aliens, so much better. That is one thing where, though I didn't like the menu, I liked the idea behind kind of the guy. I don't want to give the movie away. I like the idea behind the menu, even though I was not a fan of the menu in general. Now, one final little warning that I do want to give everyone, because I always promise you that I will tell you if the dog lives or dies. And yes, the dog lives throughout the book. I also did not appreciate that part of the book because essentially the dog is missing. As I said in the synopsis, the dog goes missing, but the dog does survive in the end. There's like a one-line sentence. You live through this entire turmoil and trauma, the entire book, only to find out that at the end, the dog was just going after the fucking bone that I found at the beginning. So yeah, it's a little skeletal, a little hungry, but the dog lives. I hope. Now I'm thinking about that. Oh God, don't tell me the dog's a ghost. That's gonna fucking piss me off. Okay? In my world, the dog lives, okay? Kiefer got her inspiration from this book, from the, and I'm going to butcher this name royally, I have to look at it, the Dyatlov Pass incident? I don't know. Don't correct me. Dyatlov Pass. It's essentially 1959. 9 Soviet Union hikers went missing in unusual circumstances. They found some mutilated body parts. They found some very interesting facts about their tents being cut open from the inside. I think recently they did discover that it was an avalanche that killed all of them, but this is the inspiration for This Wretched Valley. So if you want to understand where this book is coming from, that's the inspiration. So sorry if I gave the story away, but that is the inspiration, and that is the type of story that you're going to be reading. I wish I had known. Here's the other problem. Besides the fact that this story loses all sense of mystery and intrigue, and my lizard just jumped off the pillow. She likes to give me heart failure. Just watch what your mom's doing, honey. Now, besides it losing its entire intrigue and mystery to the story, I think This Wretched Valley is really missing the rule of 3, which is the 3 levels of foreshadowing that is done to give a reader an idea of what is about to happen. Now, you have your very basic level, you have your medium level for your average readers and people that kind of have like a grip and maybe read a lot, and then you have your very hard to see foreshadowing that only the best of the best, or sometimes not even that, we'll get. Now, with This Wretched Valley, it was all the first level. It was flashing neon lights of what was going to happen, and no. In that, too, I lost my interest in wanting to read it, because I was just like, okay, so this is going to happen, and this person's going to do this, and now we're going to have this, and the only unknown that I had throughout the entire book was the dog going to live or die? Further thought, I also don't feel that I did spoil this book, because the book literally starts out when they find the bodies, and so you all know everyone's going to die. Everyone's going to die, okay? So you're all going to know that they're all going to die. So I'm not spoiling the book by telling you that they're all going to die and it turns into a slasher. Plus, that's the other thing I hate, is stories where you know that no one's going to make it out. No one's going to make it. I hate those kinds of stories, because where's the mystery? Again, we lose the mystery of the story, and that is just not my kind of book. And if you're a reader like me, and we have thousands of books to read, why waste your time reading a book that we're just not going to enjoy? And I'm still annoyed, because I wait all year for my October reading challenge, and it's lacking. It failed me on book 1 too. At least I have quite a few more books to get through. 2 and 3 have been good so far. So this is where I struggle so hard with reading books too, is because the story, not for me. The plot, not for me. The characters, But Kiefer does something that I'm not used to seeing in horror books, which is her writing is very elevated for the genre. Her writing hits that literary value. Her descriptions, her allegories, her comparisons, her word choices, her dialogue, everything was so well done. So at the same time that I'm hating every inch of this book, I am sucked in by the descriptions, by her very touch, taste, sense, smell, inclusion in the story. There's a lot of sensory things for you to grasp onto when you're reading this book, and that made it really hard, because on one hand, I wanted to applaud Kiefer and say, yes, keep doing this. This is what we need in the genre. This is what I want. This is what I think is lacking in the current books that are getting published. But then on the flip side, I'm like, I can't rate this book high per my personal rating because I don't like it. Now, that goes to the whole scheme of, do we rate books based on personal preference, or do we rate books based on how well we technically think that they are? And I always struggle with this every time I have to do a rating, because I want to rate something based on whether or not I liked it, but then I also want to give it credit for being good or not. And my personal preference about the book has nothing to do sometimes with how good or bad a book is, because technically this book is superbly written, and I hope she does very well. And I think she got a pretty decent publisher. Don't quote me. Let's see. Can I look this up quickly? I guess not. My library covered it up, so I cannot tell you quirk books. I do not know quirk books. So anyway, her writing is elevated. So I want to give her a round of applause for creating beautifully written work. I didn't like the story. Do we have no originality to plots and horror and excitement anymore either? Because again, this book just falls into something of like 4 people go into the woods, Blair Witch Project. 4 people don't make it out. I'm sure I can name a ton of other stories. What was it? I watched a movie about girls, more than 2 girls, but people going into a cave and then struggling to live as well. This is a very common trope of like getting stuck in a natural situation and then there being some monster, something chasing you. And I'm sure there's a whole wide audience of people that love those kind of stories. So maybe they're not looking for originality. I mean, we don't read romance books that much for originality here, except I do read them and I would like some more original jobs. And so maybe there is a whole sect of people like my friend who just wants to watch her monster movies, that wants this stuck in nature, don't get out alive. But could we have made the monster more unique? Are we out of horror movie styles? Like, I've been trying to think of like all the horror books I've been reading lately, and I feel that I have only had one that was extremely unique, and the rest were either like demonic possessions or haunted houses or what is another one? Really just monsters or haunted houses. And I just want more. It's probably also the reason I picked up The Wretched Valley, because I thought I was getting something more. Besides the fact that this is a rock climbing book, and I love rock climbing, though I'm deathly afraid of heights, and I got hooked on reading rock climbing books by reading The Valley Girls by Sarah Nicole Lemon. So if you're looking for a contemporary / romance YA book about rock climbing that has nothing to do with horror, but is rock climbing, then you need to read The Valley Girls by Sarah Nicole Lemon. But yeah, so when I saw it was a horror rock climbing book, I had to pick it up. Alright, that is it for spoiler-free section. Listen on if you would like spoilers as I go into more of a discussion about specifics of why I didn't like the book. Otherwise, click away, ruin my metrics, I don't care. Come back later once you've read the book, start here at this marker and listen to the spoilers. Now, I do think Kiefer was trying to leave hope for the final girl of whether she was alive or not, because we start the book very much at her being not found. However, again, that 3-level foreshadowing situation, the minute Dylan's hand disappears when she's rock climbing into the rock and the rock kind of like forms around her hand, it became very obvious to me that she was going to be eaten or consumed some way by this mountain. So that was not a surprise to me at all. I guess it was slightly like, okay, so this is how it happened at the end. But again, not a surprise for me at all. Which just took some of that mystery love away from me. And again, I need to know more reasons why the things are happening the way they're happening, because nothing is explained. And if you're going to talk about a pet peeve of mine in any book that I read, not explaining to me why things happen the way they do is going to drive me crazy. Like, is this because the rock face that existed already had magical properties, or essentially the land, the rock, wall, cliff, whatever we call it, was built on? Did it have magical properties so that then it created the rock phase, and that anyone who died on that, I realize the more I talk about other things as examples, the more I'm giving away other things, movies and books. I'm just gonna stop myself there because I don't want to give that away. But essentially, so if someone dies on this property, are they then getting locked in and stuck there with their souls? Is that what we're doing here? Or is it the fact of, I don't think it was the couple that the husband who killed the wife in the 1800s, I believe, as the cause, because they were already talking about a sickness that like took all the children. And so that makes me think that it does not exist around them, but they were just a causality and the initial like settler system that started the killings. And so they were the first ghosts to exist on this land, because maybe the indigenous people were more nomads, and so they didn't really have anyone die in that area to get stuck. Or did the nomads put something on this land so when the white settlers came, they weren't going to be able to exist on it? Can I have an answer, please? Like, what? Was it just their existence as ghosts? Like, why did everyone become so vile and angry? I want to know more. As much as I didn't like this book and I could just easily forget about it and put it in a corner, the more I want to know and understand why this world existed the way that it did. And is Dylan gonna haunt it since she was fully eaten by them? I'm not a big fan of delusional killing either. So the whole Clay thing, drinking the moonshine and then having issues, I was not here for. Boring. He's not a great character. He's just fucked up in the head. Okay, that's not a great character. Which means I needed the insanity to be a little bit more believable, because the whole Clay thing, even, was it Luke, the boyfriend of Dylan's boyfriend who lost his dog? Like, yeah, okay, fine. If I was in issues, I probably would be freaking out the same way, but I don't think I would kill someone over losing my dog. I take that back. I might. Maybe I shouldn't say that. But the point is, I needed the insanity to be more believable. Will I give Kiefer another try? I do not know. I do not know if, especially if it's just another like slash, kill. I don't think I would give her another try. But I think she's really, really amazing on what she does. I just think that she needs to get her plotting a little bit better. For me personally, this is not my thing. I'm not someone who's like reviewing this. This is personal opinion only. I like to make that clear because I don't want to crush anyone's dreams at all. But not for me. If I had to rate it, I think I did give it a 3 out of 5 stars. Only because I really, really, really liked her writing style. Like, really, really, really like how she wrote the book. And that was the only saving grace for me finishing the whole thing. Besides the fact that I don't DNF things unless I really hate them. Alright friends, thank you so much for listening to this review. If you liked it, please give the video a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of the book reviews I do. I stick mostly with horror, fantasy, romance, and sci-fi, my favorite, and also what I write in. Don't forget to also check out the video versions of a podcast that I co-host with my friend. It is also of the same name, and we do topics for dark creatives, readers, and writers as well. But thank you so much, friends, for listening, and I hope that you're reading some really fucking awesome good books.